All right, greetings, Threshold World fam. Melanie here, and I am elated to be talking to Mr. James McJunkins Sr., Professor James McJunkins Sr. of Clark Atlanta University. Yes, my alma mater, and it's no secret that is my alma mater. And Professor McJunkins was actually my journalism professor back in the day. And I am so excited to be talking to you today. For those of you that are joining us, I want to make you aware that Mr. McJunkins is very well known in the ATL. and, and to those of us that have been students in his classroom, it's a pleasure to be able to, just on behalf of all the students, it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you, to be able to ask you questions today and really recap. I haven't seen you in a couple of many years.
Yes, it's been a while. It's been a while. Uh,
And just so you all know, Professor McJunkins, I have that you've been working at Clark for 44 years. Is that true?
Actually, this is my 45th, so yes, I got 44
Wow,
plus this one. Yes, been a while.
amazing. A
Yeah,
continued lifetime of service in higher education.
that's right.
That's amazing. Okay, so I love to start off by making everyone aware of where your journey began. I know that you actually started yourself as a student at Tuskegee and in the 60s. So,
Right.
I mean, right during the height of the civil rights movement, or just right before, like right in that time frame, which is amazing. So it's like you're a walking historian that experienced so much. Now I
Uh,
understand why you got on. You were serious about that voting when we were in school, because you went through a process of seeing so much occur. So my question to you is, how would you compare your time as a student to the events that we've recently experienced during COVID-19, and even before, with the recent developments that have happened in our community in relation to Black Lives Matter, and just everything that we've been fighting for?
well, it's been interesting. Of course, how I said the students were more today they're more apathetic, I think, than they were in the 60s, and that's why there was such turmoil at that time. But I'm glad to see that it's still building up. I mean, um, it took a number of things to stir students up again, and I do welcome a second civil rights movement. That's what it would probably amount to. But it's been interesting. That's pretty much what I can say about it. Yeah.
Wow.
But the
What would
killing of George Floyd, that stirred a lot of people. The increase in police brutality, that stirred a lot of people. But then we got a lot of activists out of this. People like Stacey Abrams and all. And I mean, it's making people think critically. And what needs to be done is we need to have more of our history taught. And we the kind of textbooks they use in the grade schools don't really cover a lot of the stuff that should be taught. So now that we have Instagram and Facebook and all this, people are learning a lot of things that were not taught before, and I think all of this helps. So I really welcome it, and I'm glad to see it happening.
mm.
Yeah.
Can you speak more to when you said the students are, did you say they are more apathetic?
Well, yes, I mean, but it is changing though. In other words, we were really riled up, and I can't pinpoint it why. I mean, a lot of it had to do, of course, with Dr. King and a lot of other leaders who were so active at that time. But during the civil rights movement, but like the Selma to Montgomery March, the March on Washington, things like that. You don't see that things that of that nature, that are that big happening now. Um, but as I say, it is changing. I expect it to continue to change, but if I were to compare what you asked, how I would compare it now, I think the students are a bit more apathetic now than they were at that time, but
Hmm.
it'll change.
Yeah.
hmm
What was your major in college?
I majored in English only because I could not major in journalism. I really wanted to, I always knew I wanted to go into journalism. So, but I really majored in English because they did not have the major at Tuskegee. So I got the closest thing that I could to it. And by me working on the school newspaper and eventually becoming the editor of the school newspaper, that gave me a lot of experience where I wanted. And then I went
Wow.
to graduate school for journalism.
Excellent. What was it about journalism that appealed to you?
I just happened to be in the homeroom of Freeman Jones, who was he was in charge of the school newspaper, and he sparked my interest because it says in my yearbook that I was going to be a scientist. I had an interest in science. So science and math were really my areas. But then I was in his homeroom, and then being in his homeroom and being in the journalism club and the journalism class, I just kind of changed. So by the time I was a senior, even though it says in the yearbook I was going to be a scientist, I changed my mind. I wanted to go into journalism, and that sparked my interest. And
Wow.
not to mention, of course, all of this excitement of looking at the news about what's happening in the civil rights movement. I wanted to cover that.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So then you went on to graduate school at the Tuskegee. And what was your experiences coming from the undergrad going into the grad in journalism?
Well, I went to Columbia University, which is an Ivy League school, and it was challenging. And there were just a handful of blacks at the time, and so that made it even more challenging. But it was in New York City, which a lot happens in New York City, and I persevered. In fact, I was the only black student to win an award at the end of the year. Like we have an awards day, and they give out about a dozen awards, and so I really worked hard, and I'm just glad how it came out of it. But it was very good.
Awesome. Okay. So you're just moving along in journalism. You're getting awards already. You're doing these amazing things.
Yeah.
And then at some point, you start working for the New York Times. Now, my understanding from when I was in school, I remember you telling us that you worked at New York Times straight out of school.
Well, yes. I That was really my first job, at the New York Times after I left. I just thought I would write several newspapers, and I was lucky. At that time, they were hiring a lot of, African Americans, and I started out there as a news assistant. And while I was at the New York Times, after having been there only a year, I was drafted into the Army. But, after I spent 2 years in service, this was during the Vietnam era,
Oh
I worked at the Pentagon. Then I came back to the New York Times and spent another couple of years.
my God. What are you
Mhm.
able to disclose what you were doing at the Pentagon, or that's classified information?
Well, I worked in the area of information that is, like there's so much going on. So I worked in, like I wrote stories about what was going on, and a lot of it had to do, of course, with Vietnam. But it was the Army Personnel Letter. That was the news publication that I wrote for. It came out every 2 weeks, and that gave me great experience.
Oh my goodness! So the plot thickens. So to all the journalism students that had Professor McJunkins, maybe this is why you were such a drill sergeant.
Yes.
I will have you all know that I will never forget getting an F for writing Mass Media Arts Department instead of Department of Mass Media Arts. For the rest of my life, I will always remember to put it in the correct
Yes.
order.
If it's a proper noun, you can't change it. A proper noun is a proper noun, so you got to keep it the way it is, right?
And these are the examples that we never forget that helps us to never do it again. Your
Yeah.
experiences definitely carry to the classroom,
Mhm.
and the things that you've experienced firsthand to be able to tell those stories of service. So
Yes.
often I feel I understand that you were drafted, but it seems most often service related jobs may not be something that like maybe students of color tend to go into. What do you think about that?
Okay, I'm not quite clear on the question.
So
In other
forgive
words,
me.
the Army has a lot of what they call MOS, that's military occupational specialties, and they train you for these. But so, well, what's the question again now?
I'm going to actually relate this to a follow-up question that I have a little later. I actually want to relate uh, working in like maybe civic service and government with travel. I feel like these two, I'm still researching this myself, but it seems that these particular industries, we need more people of color to work in. And
Oh,
so that's where I'm getting at
oh, okay.
with these
Well,
particular types of questions.
well, yes, but I think it's pretty well spread out in the Army. Is what you take an interest in, you know. But the I think the Army is good for opening up careers and preparing African Americans for a lot of fields. So I give them credit for that. And but you see, when you fill out your paperwork, when you enter the Army, they ask you, you know, what area do you want to work in? And I wrote down as much as I can. I wanted to go into communications, and you know that's how I ended up in working for the communications.
No, that's excellent. So they worked with you for,
Yes.
your area of interest. So that was great that they
Yes.
did that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were drafted and then once your time was finished, you went back into journalism.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, I always wanted to teach journalism, and that's why, you know, after I started work at the Times, I quit and went to Columbia. You know, I wanted to get an advanced degree because I always wanted to teach journalism. And so after that, you know, well, actually, I started work at the Palm Beach Post when I left the New York Times. I stayed there a couple of years. And when I felt I reached a saturation point there, I applied for both a job at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and at Clark College at that time. And the Constitution said they didn't have none openings, but Clark said they had a full-time position. That's how I ended up switching, you know, from being a reporter to a full-time professor. And once I, you know, got to being in education, I found it, you know, more likable, and that's why I stayed in it for 45 years now. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, you are so loved and appreciated. I
Thank you.
actually, yes, I contacted actually one of your former students that actually works as an editor for the Athletic. And you may or may not know who I am referring to, Khalid Salam, who was one of our
Oh,
classmates.
yes, yes. I remember Khalid. Yes, very good student. I remember him so well.
Oh, awesome.
Right. Uh-huh.
He he actually says that he remembers in his class he got a 91 test score, which was still a B. Um, he said we had to have at least 92 on a test for an A.
Yes. I remember those days.
um, he says he wanted me to make you aware. He wanted me to actually express to you that he appreciates you. He thanks you for pushing him, and that you're one of the people responsible for his career today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank him. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
I imagine, there are, many other students that would identify with Khalid's sentiments. Uh, Certainly, uh, I just think of all the different lessons that we learned when we were in your class, and the you always talked about us telling our own stories
Yes.
and the importance of that. And I'm quite sure That's why I even wanted to do what I'm doing today with even sharing the stories, our stories. Who
Right.
better than us to tell our own stories?
That's correct.
And
We need
to,
to.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, share.
Now, I was gonna say that's correct. We need to tell our own stories because, as I said in earlier, what's written in the textbooks, is not enough. It's not accurate, and a lot is left out. So we need to fill it in. We need to say, what our grandparents and great grandparents have taught us, because all that stuff is left out, and we need to put it in. We tell our own stories. Yes.
Yes. So I know that you've also been the director. Of course, I know firsthand that you've been director of the Jamaica Study Abroad program.
That's right.
And so I was very excited to be able to be a part of the program and being at I love impressing my neighbors that I studied at UWI.
That's
Just,
right.
and being at the Mona campus. How did that relationship begin with the University of the West Indies and the study abroad program?
All right. I lived in Jamaica for a couple of years, and I was working on my doctorate, and I just developed a close relationship with the university itself. So I had worked with a study abroad program in Haiti before, and I just said, well, why not start one in Jamaica, because it's an interesting country, and predominantly black, and so for more than 20 years now, we've had the program. It's still going strong, and the students get what I call an experience of a lifetime, because we just do a little bit of everything when we go there. So you remember, but it has
Oh,
improved since you were a part of it, because we go a lot of different places now. And oh well, you can look at it. We have some, clips on YouTube about it. Yeah.
awesome. You said you all go to a lot of different places now?
Yes, we travel all around the island.
Mhm.
There. I mean, I don't know if we did. We visit a rum factory when you were there. Did we visit?
I don't recall us going to a rum
I mean,
factory.
okay,
Wow, nice.
you see how rum is made, and I guess I think we went to the village. Oh, I
We
can't think
did.
of the
We
name.
did. We went to an orphanage. I remember we went to an orphanage and
Okay,
the young men
yeah,
danced with us, and that was fun.
yeah, that's
Um,
right. Yeah,
I know we went to the Blue Mountain. Blue
yeah. Okay,
Mountain.
yes. See, I don't think we went to a coffee factory when you were there, but we went to see how coffee is made. But yeah, but it's up in the Blue Mountains. That's right.
Mm. Remember, I was scared to death as we were going up the mountain. It was so close to the cliff.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, oh my God. And just the experience of being able to be in Kingston and for myself, because so often, people are like, oh my God, you're traveling to Kingston at that time. People were like, it's dangerous. And what are you doing? And
Yeah.
I think so often fear uh, just causes many not to want to study abroad or travel, maybe especially within our communities. So often our parents don't even want us to leave home. And then we're talking about going on a study abroad program.
Right.
What has been like attendance like when it comes time to be able to have study abroad programs? Is it something that's been a challenge to get more people to participate, or has it increased for more to be want to
It
participate?
it has increased, but we have to keep the number at low enough for us to handle. But we've had as many as 18 students to go, and we don't want to go beyond that. One reason is that they have small buses, and we'll have to get a second bus if we have to do it, which means you got to get a couple of faculty advisors and all that. So we try to
Mm,
keep it at about 18,
okay.
but it has fluctuated through the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems for those that are interested in travel, I guess they'll participate. And I don't know, why do you feel it's important for students to have these type of experiences?
Well, it's you need to be more worldly. You need to be able to understand what's happening in the world and not just concentrate on what's happening in the U.S. You need to understand different ethnicities and understand different cultures, because people do things differently, people think differently, and you can't be critical of them because of how they grew up and how they think. But it's just a good to understand that there needs to be diversity in the world, throughout our government and everything, and then you will understand this better.
Awesome.
Okay.
I still have Dr. Crawford's book. Thank you for answering that. I still have Dr. Crawford's book. I believe she was the only Black psychiatrist at the time in Jamaica. And she like wrote a book. And I still have
Okay.
her book on my shelf over there. I should have had it over here
Okay.
to show
All
you.
right. Good.
But
Good.
that was like, wow, just the reality of, being able to travel abroad and um, for someone to be the only one, that was really amazing to me. When there's such a need in our community, to have more people to speak to when we're going through different aspects of our life.
Right.
So, but it was a great cultural experience, especially coming from Brooklyn, being born in Brooklyn. Yes, y'all, I'm born in Brooklyn, New York, and being able
Yes.
to do my directed study research on the migration of Jamaicans from Kingston to Brooklyn, New York, and effects on the Crown Heights community, and being able to just speak to the local vendors that opened up restaurants, that had actually also lived in Kingston, and just the relation. I mean, I feel like that was such a great opportunity to be able to get that experience that you've taught us in the classroom, but to be able to be doing it abroad and comparing it to home. And it was just really great to be able to have that experience. And I just appreciate the things that were learned. I remember for our publishing class, I was trying to make a magazine, and it was related to like the state and service for the most part. So pretty
Okay.
much the same gist of us being more involved in like government related and international studies, if you will. So I mean, your contributions are amazing, so amazing.
Thank you.
Till I
Okay.
know on this particular week coming up, we know that you are going to be awarded by the National Association of Black Journalists
Mm.
during the for the you're going to be awarded the Education of the Year award. Congratulations
Thank you. Thank you.
on that amazing honor. I remember
Thank you.
you telling us about NABJ and the importance of being a part of uh, this particular organization because it's related to our major. And so often, that's something that students also should be doing, is the area of their major, looking for those organizations that would support them in their, area of interest.
Yes, we have a student chapter. Actually, it's a AUC chapter now of the National Association of Black Journalists, and it's a very active organization. It's going very strong. They have meetings every week, and they have speakers. And this it's a very strong organization. So it's going very well. Mhm.
Awesome. So for those that are interested, it's going to be virtual and it's open for everyone that is interested. I know I definitely registered so that I can route you on virtually from here to where you are and just everywhere. So definitely, folks could go on the NABJ website and be able to check it out. Believe it's going to
It's
be
no
on,
charge, right?
yes, it's no charge,
Mhm.
and it's going to be on December 19th at 8 o'clock p.m. So definitely check it out. We'll be rooting. We know you got it, but we're excited to be able to celebrate you and celebrate your accomplishments. One of the things,
Thank you.
I like to do, yes, one of the things I like to do with Threshold World is just encourage students on their journey in higher education, as well as those professionals that are um, just working right now in this virtual space. What is some advice that you would have for students and or colleagues in higher education during this time um, of virtual opportunity? I'd put it like that.
Well, of course, it's a challenge now because we're not having in-person teaching. We're teaching online at Clark Atlanta, but at the same time, I'm trying to encourage students to do internships because you got to always understand the practicality behind the work that you want to do. So we still, there. If you go to the NABJ website, for instance, you'll see a lot of internship opportunities there. So we try to push that and just always try to have a mentor. Try to find someone whose work you like, study that person, look at that person's background, and then you should do the same thing if you want to become like that person. Develop as many contacts as you can. Keep a good address book of people because you never know when they could help you out later on in life. You may run across them at a meeting or wherever else, and they may know of some opportunity for you, and they could provide it with you. So just stay active, and and like we have the local chapter of the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists, which is, part of the National Association of Black Journalists. I encourage students to attend their meetings because they help each other out in there. When a position becomes open in a certain state or wherever, they make it known. They say, hey, they got an opening for a reporter in, Podunk, Idaho. You may live in Podunk and you can learn about it. So just maintain your contacts. Yeah, it's very important.
Mhm. Do you feel like, what do you think about journalism today as it relates to just all the different methods in which one shares information? I know that when I was a student, there was a lot of talks about making sure we had laptops and, we wanted to make sure that we had the latest technology. And at the time, we didn't really have, everything, but we had the basics to be able
Right.
to help us to be able to uh, prosper in the field, if you will. So,
Well, we are competing now with social media. A lot of people believe what they read on social media. So it's good to see that you have a blog like this, something, when you have the proper training and the background and all, and you present the truth, that's what's important. Because too many people believe everything that they see on Facebook. They can start rumors and lies, and it's just so it's just important that we look at things critically if we want to be a journalist. Don't accept things at face value. Like I see you've already done a lot of research. You were able to tell me how many years I've been teaching and then my background. I didn't tell you all that. I mean, that's good. You've done it, that way when you're interviewing somebody, they can't lie to you, because you can show, hey, I have a record of you doing this. So that's good. So you need to be truthful. You need to do your research. And that's what I would advise.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. It's amazing because you're right. People will put stuff on social media, and I'm literally researching to see if it already happened because
Hmm.
I do not want to be that person that's putting up something that somebody else said that's not even
Yes.
true. And it's
Right.
it's
Right.
so annoying, especially, when you work in organizations that people respect, and then they looking at you like, why is she putting this up here? This is not even facts. So yeah,
Right.
that it can tend to be very dangerous. Thank you
Yeah.
for addressing that. I think it's a very serious matter. And I'm just thankful, to that we had a professor like you to just teach us
Thank you.
how to go about what we need to do. And it was challenging. When I graduated, it was very hard to be able to get into the field. And I'm happy in higher education, and the places where it can take us, and I understand how one can appreciate the ability to be in a position to educate on what you have learned. And I imagine learning from the students in some respects
Yes, that's true.
as you teaching as well. Mhm.
Yes, the technology has been developing, and I have to try to keep up with the students, so they push me. I'm glad of this, because like when I was in college, we didn't have computers. Okay, so how can I teach students if I don't know how to use a computer? And
Mhm.
as these new software programs come out, and and just everything evolves, I have to keep up with it. So yeah, so I learned a lot from students. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So you gave a lot for those that are interested in journalism today, for them to know what to do, getting that mentor, looking for that internship. I guess that virtual internship at this point, or those brave souls that'll go out and still do the reporting. I mean, this is probably a good time of opportunity, since there are people that are definitely not going anywhere. That
Yeah.
might be the
Right.
opportunity to be that person that goes out, puts on a mask, and make it happen to get the story.
Yeah, that's right. You just have to keep fighting, because this is a crowded field. You got to understand that a lot of people are getting degrees in communication. So one of the things that when you apply for a job at a job fair at the NABJ, one of the things they ask you first is, are you multimedia talented? So you can't just
Mm.
focus on one area. Like, there was the time when the print reporters were only print. Well, now you have to learn how to do something else. At a newspaper, they also have blogs. You got to know how to write online. You got to know how, and sometimes how to even do video, because they have video to go along with that, even though you want to be a print reporter. So you got to be multimedia talented. You have to cross over. And that's how our curriculum has changed in the last 10 years. It's
Mm.
called convergence. So we,
Oh.
a print journalist, a print journalism student will focus not only on print, but on doing other things, also other courses, developing other skills.
Oh, that's good to
Very,
know for those
very important.
aspiring, yeah, for those aspiring journalism students, for them to be aware of what the curriculum is looking like
All right.
right now. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's good for folks to just be made aware of what to look for, especially now, and those in the communities that are like those community journalists, or those that just kind of want to share what's happening. I know some of them are doing some of the same things. I was really surprised. This was actually a couple of years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, when the first time I saw a journalist get out of her van. I was used to her just reporting on the news, but she got out of the van that she drove with her own camera.
Right.
She literally did her hair, face, everything. She came back brand new with the camera, doing her interview. And I was like, you did all of that? Like there was a time when it was the cameraman that would be there at least.
Right.
She was the camera. She did everything. And I was like, good Lord, she's doing everything. So I guess that's the day that we're in.
Yeah, one of the examples I often use in my classroom, okay, you indicated I graduated from Tuskegee. Well, years ago, the academic building burned down. All right. WSB, which is, the local station in Atlanta, we have WSB Radio, we have WSB TV. All right. Well, that one company, which is owned by Cox, it will cost a lot of money to send a crew from the radio station and the TV station down to cover it. But it is important because there are a lot of people in Metro Atlanta who graduated from Tuskegee. So what they did was they sent one person down. That one person did a print story. He did a video. He took the tripod with him. He took the camera with him, and he did a sound bite for the radio. So
Wow.
that's why I say it's important to be multimedia. So he knew how to write for a newspaper. He knew how to write online. He knew how to do a sound bite for the radio, and he knew how to do a video for the television. So this is important. Yeah, and you got to get this experience. Volunteers don't always look to be paid. Volunteer with these companies so you can shadow someone and go out with them and do it. But that
Excellent.
actually happened.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Mack. Shout out to all the mass media arts majors and journalism concentrations and all that. Definitely
Okay.
at Clark Atlanta University, we were definitely taught radio, television, and film.
All right.
We definitely had the opportunity to be in just make it happen. So
Right.
one of the things about attending a historically Black college is we really feel that we are pushed to levels that maybe we may not be pushed in other spaces. But at the end of the day, being able to have a great educator that went into the profession himself and came back and utilized those skills to be able to pour it into students is a big deal. So thank you so much for your
You're very
service to
welcome.
our country and the service to us that were coming up, especially those of us that were first generation. Um,
Okay.
you
Yes.
know, first generation in
Right.
school, and yeah, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Nice seeing you again after all these years.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Everyone,
All
make
right.
sure that you follow Threshold World on IG. And we also have Threshold World College Edition. And happy holidays.
Okay. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. All right.